Welcome back everybody to another Auto World Zone video from EICMA 2025. I think the biggest and best motorcycle show in the world, and we're at Suzuki. So try and stay focused as I talk you through the brand new SV-7GX. This one came as a bit of a surprise. It's based upon the SV-650 platform, but they've just adapted it to make it more touring friendly and also updated it with quite a lot of modern tech. So in this video we'll go through all the details and find out whether this is a budget-friendly middleweight sports tourer that you should consider for 2026. So let's start with the engine on this particular bike. And like I say, it's built upon the SV-650. So you've got the same 90 degrees V-twin 645cc width, and Suzuki were keen to point this out in the press release. Over 25 years of proven performance. Now, they haven't really done much to evolve it in terms of the power output. It still makes around 70 horsepower. I believe it's 72 horsepower peak at 812,000 RPM, 64 Nm of peak torque at 6,800. But there have been some of the tweaks to the internals in order to make it Euro 5 plus emissions compliant. And they have fitted it with electronic throttle bodies, so that does open up quite a lot of kind of modern day tech that you perhaps wouldn't typically associate with the SV-650 platform. So now we've got 3 drive modes, so 3 levels of power that you can choose through the dash. Traction control as well, with 3 different levels there too. So you can dial that into the specific conditions, plus an up and down quick shifter, which I think is probably a first on this platform. And then it also gets a couple of their common techie features like low RPM assist, where it gives you a little bit of revs automatically as you let the clutch out to help avoid stalling it. And also their easy start system. So it's a one press on the starter in order to get the bike to start up. You don't need to hold it down. Now, before we get on to some of the changes they've made to their chassis and ergonomics, I just want to say a massive thanks to Kawamoto for supporting the channel and making this particular trip possible. Now, Kawamoto is a motorcycle-specific navigation app, so it seeks to kind of avoid the boring straight roads and uses their own dedicated in-house algorithm to try and identify the best twisties and curvy roads. That means you can plan brilliant motorcycle roads within a few taps in the Kawamoto app. And they've also got a web version as well if you want to plan a longer tour and you want a bit more screen space. Anyway, we've got 25 golden tickets with 12 months of free Kawamoto premium membership. And so if you're milling around at the show and you can find us, then if I've got any left, I'll give you one. But if you're watching from back home, there's a 10% discount code as well for you guys for a premium membership. So do check out the links down in the description below to find out more. And once again, a massive thanks to Kawamoto for all their support. Now, we did just talk about those new drive modes. They call them equivalent to power modes, the traction control as well. And so they've had to update the cockpit in order to accommodate more features and settings. It's not the biggest TFT dash you'll ever see. It's 4.2 which is relatively compact. But you do have a full selection of switch gear in order to navigate some of those settings, and I believe it also does have some connectivity built in. So you can get turn-by-turn navigation, you can get traffic conditions as well, points of interest. I think it gives you notifications, it gives you weather. So despite looking a bit budget and relatively simplistic, it actually packs, a decent amount of functionality. If, however, you want to stick with mounting your phone on the bars for a bit more screen space, let's say, then there is a USB socket just on the side there. And so that makes it nice and easy to run a short cable to the phone to keep it charged up. Now, as for the chassis and the frame, well, it will look quite familiar if you've ever looked at the most recent SV-650s. They do say they've made a few changes to the steel trellis frame in terms of the geometry. They've tuned it specifically for this bike, I guess, to give it a touch more stability, but really these are minor changes and a lot of the hardware you'll see is very much the same as the SV. Like for example, this non-adjustable right way up fairly skinny looking fork. Probably not the best in terms of, performance out on the road versus some of the competition. and there's no adjustability like I say, but I assume they've made that choice to bring this bike in at an aggressive price point. And so it's probably a trade-off that some people will be willing to make. We've got a pair of taco brakes up front. They're axially mounted, so again, a relatively budget-friendly choice. Wheels are 17 in front and rear. So completely road-biased, and so yeah, fairly basic, but could be a good option if you're looking for something that will do a bit of distance on a budget. Really though, the biggest adaptations apart from the extra tech, I would say, versus the SV-650 come in the form of the ergonomics and the wind protection package. They say they've used CFD or computational fluid dynamics, which is basically like a virtual wind tunnel to optimize the airflow around the rider to make it as comfortable and quiet as possible, minimizing buffering. And you've also got an adjustable windscreen up front with 50 mm in terms of the range of motion, and also these handguards to keep some of the wind off your hands, which can help to keep them warm. Then the bodywork kind of flares out around this tank. And the tank itself is also significantly increased in terms of capacity versus something like the SV, so it's 4L now, which I think is about 3L up on the SV-650. And so you should get a decent amount of range out of this bike, as well as helping, like I say, to keep a little bit of the wind off your lower body. As for the seat height, we're talking 795 mm. So very accessible indeed, especially when you compare it to some of the other kind of middleweight affordable sports tourers like the Tracer 7 from Yamaha. For example, that does sit a little bit taller and might be slightly intimidating for shorter riders, especially if you load it up with a bit of extra luggage. They say it's got 10 mm more padding in the seat as well though versus an SV, and you can definitely feel it. It's got a nice bit of squidge to it, and so all round I'd say yeah, very nice in terms of the riding position. Nice and upright, very sustainable, and it should be a really easy and comfortable bike to ride. Another thing as well that's going to play into this bike being seen as a capable touring machine is the kind of luggage options. We've got soft luggage on the sides on this particular bike here. It's also got a little bit of a tank bag. But you can get as well a rear carrier with a top box, and this one is 47 liters, so not the biggest on the market. But pretty good if you are commuting and you want to take a change of clothes, or if you do a bit of light touring and you want to take a decent amount of stuff with you. I think combined with this setup, it should be ample for most people. As for the styling on this particular bike, well, it is a little bit of slightly unusual combination, I suppose, being a bottom half SV-650 and then up top something that looks quite a bit more modern. But I will say it weirdly kind of works, doesn't it, Tim? Do you think it's a better looking bike than it sounds like it should be on paper? Perhaps it's a big surprise to me that they haven't used the parallel twin 800 platform to make a Tracer 7 competitor. I would love to understand more about why they decided, I guess, to keep the SV-650 going for this particular application. It feels like the 800 is just made for it. But maybe it's a decision to bring this bike in, like I say, at a lower price point. And so, perhaps it'll do the trick. But styling-wise, I think they've made the best go of it that they possibly could. This particular bike is getting a lot of attention. I'm sure you can understand why, but maybe it's the blue and white paint job. Tim, don't know. But that is definitely my pick of the bunch in terms of the colors. We've also got a gray over there with a little bit of red and black on the graphics. I believe there's a black bike too with blue rims. So, a little bit of choice, but I think out of the three of them, this one or the gray with the red wheels are probably going to be the most popular out of the bunch. Now, unfortunately with this one, no price, which is a real shame because I think it's a lot of what this bike will be about. You know, it's not spec'd to be the most techy, the most performance-y orientated. It's not got the most luxurious build, but if they can bring it in at a very tempting price point, then like they say that the SV engine's a proven performer, and so I think it could win quite a lot of customers who are looking for a reliable, economical little bike like that, but just with a bit More distance capability, if you look at some of the competition, I think the Tiger Sport 660 is up near 9 grand, the Tracer 7 is somewhere in the 8.1/2 range, I think a Versys 650 comes in at just under 8 grand. So realistically, Suzuki are going to be wanting to get this one around the 8 or 8.1/2 mark. The only thing I would say as a caveat is they don't tend to be that competitive on price. The 800s, for example, do come in usually about a grand or two more than the equivalent from some of the other major manufacturers. Maybe building it on the SV-650 platform has meant that they've been able to be a bit more competitive, but I guess this is a situation where only time will tell. It is light. That's one thing I haven't mentioned in this video. It's 211 kg, so that low seat and the lack of lots of weight is probably, a combination that's going to make this very appealing to people who don't want something too intimidating like an adventure bike. And so, let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Also, let me know what you think of the gray one, and I'll leave my playlist on the screen as well, so you can keep up to date with all of our content over the next few days. Do hit subscribe if you haven't already to see all of the videos as soon as they go live, and massive thanks again to Kalamoto. Do check out the link down in the description. Thanks for watching this one as well, and we'll see you very shortly with our next